Hi, me, Tony DADA, coming right at you, your soul brother, with another breakdown of my blog. This idea was initiated by my young protege, who thought that the blogs that I wrote didn't really give the full essence of what I was trying to communicate. He's with me all the time, and so he understands my thinking and my ideas. And so he was like, why don't we have a breakdown so that it gives us the opportunity to really break down some of the content. So here we are today, and I'm with my young protege, Natty. Are you in the house?
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, real good, really good.
Good.
Like I was saying to anyone, I've got a good energy, a good vibe about today's breakdown. And so I know you've had a chance to read it.
Yeah.
So let's break it down.
Okay, so first and foremost, what I would like to say is that it was a really good blog. I feel like this is the best blog I've read from you this year.
Oh, wow. So what was the title of the blog? Just to put it into context so people know.
So the title of the blog was what you need, that you need a mindset for abundance in 2022.
Say that again?
Why you need a mindset, a mind reset for abundance in 2022.
Okay, so let's just go one more time. So why you need a mind reset in 2022. Yeah, because it's coming to the end of the year. And of course, with the end of the year, people have celebrations, and then we go into January, and then people make New Year's resolutions. And then usually within 90 days, those New Year's resolutions have gone out the window, and one year just rolls into another year. So I wrote the blog because I wanted to put it into context to say that smart people are already making plans for the new year, and not just making plans, but the first plan is to do an inventory of your mind, or like an MOT of your mindset. And the way to do that is through what we call and term a mind reset.
Yeah.
So I kind of think we've got the context now.
Yeah, so we do. And based on, because I've really been thinking about what you said in the blog in terms of the mass formation psychosis, the term that you used.
Okay, so that was a term that I picked up whilst I was doing some research for the blog. And the whole idea of mass formation psychosis is just as it says, how a whole group of people can, as a mass, form this idea or kind of thinking, which is almost like a herd mentality, that, you know, people haven't done their own thinking for themselves, and they just come together in a group, as it were, a large section, and they all have this belief. And sometimes the belief isn't really founded on anything. And I gave the example of what happened to the Jews, as well as the example of what happened to Africans during the slave trade. There was a mass of people that thought it was okay to butcher and treat in the most despicable way, but they, in the time, thought it was okay.
So when you said that and you gave those examples, it really touched me in terms of the mind state that a lot of people are in now, in terms of, because of the whole pandemic, people may be losing their families, or families may be getting ill, so they go into a state of what I can best describe as depression, or in a state of isolation.
Right.
And
but when you say isolation and depression, I just want to make sure, certainly where isolation is concerned, that you're not talking about in the physical sense, but in the mental sense. Is that right?
Yeah, in the mental sense. So, like, because we've never experienced something, because I definitely haven't experienced any of the things in the 16 and 1700s. So I wouldn't know how to feel going through an experience of intensity. So when you
say intensity, you mean like when a mass of people are putting an idea, an ideology that is not in keeping with yours, but like, what the hell do you do? So imagine the Jewish community feeling like they were under oppression, you know, equally Black people feeling like you're under oppression. That's really a real good analogy that you've made there, because in some respect, you're saying for some people, that's what it feels like now, but we've not had anything to reference. So now you're experiencing it and trying to come to terms with it by yourself.
Yeah. So it's just in terms of, because people haven't experienced an outbreak of COVID like how we have, that I know of in my generation. So that new idea, that new disease that's been taking people's families away, it's like, it's a hard thing to come to terms with when you've never experienced it before.
Absolutely. And what is the coming to terms with? The coming to terms with is your mental state. See, if a person doesn't and isn't able to come to terms with something, they can be physically well, but mentally disturbed, mentally troubled. And you know, there's this saying that I often say, which is, where the mind goes, the body flows. Or should I say, where the mind goes, the body follows. Meaning, so you can have 100% fitness in your health, but if you're being disturbed or troubled in your mind or depressed in your mind, then that will eventually have an impact on your physical health.
Definitely. So when I started to realize these things, because it was only through the blog I was able to realize, so if people are feeling disturbed in their mind based on what they're experiencing, what techniques can be applied to begin to reset one's mind?
Or to revive one's mind to a state of balance.
From the very basic level, because you can't get in, it's like nursing your mental state back to health, if that makes sense.
Now you're talking about it, because look, and that's a great example and illustration. So I often give the case of, so I'm Nigerian, and back in the 60s, when my uncles and aunties used to come around to have dinner, they used to be obese. I remember one of my uncles, like I saw, as he came through the door, I saw his whole stomach before I saw his face. That's how big his stomach was. Right? And what's the point I was making? I was like, what is going on? I later found out that back in those days, the mentality that Nigerians had, and I'm talking generally, is that to show how wealthy you were, you had to be big, like a boss. Do you understand? Big and fat. And because we had come from the times when there was war and famine and people were very skinny, you can understand the opposite end of the scale, being big and fat, look like you're a boss, you've got food. But when it started killing them, they realized they needed to change that mentality, because obesity was real. So now they had to learn a new way of being and able to experience optimum health. And in a way, it's kind of like what we're going through with our mental state. Would you agree that we are now, this one or two things? Either you can let others do the thinking for you because it's too much trouble, and that means you don't know where you're going to end up because you have no clue. Other people are making decisions for you. Or you can do the work like a person who goes into the gym and does a serious workout and gets a trainer, if need be. You can do the work that is necessary to nurse your mind back to a state of mental fitness. I love that.
Yeah. So, because I've been reading quite a few books over the past 2 years, because I'm like, there must be something out there that I can give to people that's practical enough before they come to get some of the things that you're teaching that is on a slightly higher level. Because when I first met you, it took me 2 years to begin to understand the actual principles that you started to impart into me. So
even though I was telling you them every day.
every day. So understanding them and then applying them, like you said to me a few days ago, two different things. So even though I started to understand them, they now had to become part of my thinking system.
Right. And then when they became part of your thinking system, they had to be incubated in your thinking system, that actually became the default way that you thought. Only then, and the way to make it the default way of thinking is to begin the art and the discipline of practicing them on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So basically what you're saying is just even coming to this awareness is the beginning of a mighty long process.
Yes. So then I took it one step deeper and I said, so now that it's part of my thinking, who am I? Because there'll be times when I would know the principle and I'll be like, I want to do this though, and then I'll come back to that. But that's not how that doesn't mean that it's part of you.
Wow. Now this is deep. This is really deep. And we're going to go with it because the whole purpose of you wanting us to break this down is so that people could get insights that they could apply to their lives. So you now started to ask your question, the question of yourself, who am I, right?
Yes.
And then you got to a stage where you thought, okay, this is who I am. I'm the man, right? And you started moving in that direction. Now you know, and people know I'm an investor in people. So we started doing some, I wanted to lift you up. I wanted to help you raise to that next level of consciousness. So as my spiritual mentor taught me, one of the best ways to find out who a person is to bring money into the equation. So I brought money into the equation. I started investing in you. And you quickly came to a place, a point of realization that who you thought you weren't that guy at all, because you messed up on some big money deals, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But the beauty and what sets you apart from most of the cats that I engage with, you had two ways out. You could bow your head in shame and say, well, I've messed up. I've done some big deals that have gone bad. Man's invested 5 figures in me and I've messed up. See you later. I'm gone. In which case, I might have had to send the boys after you. Alternatively, but what you chose to do, which I will always talk about this story, and when you're ready, you'll go into it more deeply, because I believe that's when you became a man. You didn't realize it, because you took the second option and you said, you know what? This has shown me who I am. I thought I was the man, but how I've messed up with these money deals, I ain't that man. But you know what? I can't live with this realization of who I actually am. I am gonna do whatever it takes to become the person I want to be. And so I'm gonna stick around and I'm gonna take responsibility for my debt and I'm gonna address it. But in that process, I'm gonna become the man I want to become through practice. And you've done that for years. And I'm like, yeah, I salute that.
Thank you.
So, and that's really what it's about. That really is what the blog was about. Ultimately, it's like, don't just assume that your thinking style is, this is who I am. You have to be able to prove it. We're living in a new time where it's not about what people say, because we have fake news, people saying all kinds of stuff. But don't we fact check? We use Google to fact check. But I'm saying, don't even use Google as your only source, because that has its problems as well. But get into the spirit of anything that you feel really strongly about. Provide evidence for yourself. Prove it to yourself. When you start moving like that, it gives you a confidence, a power, a sense of authority over yourself that no one can take away from you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like in order to start resetting your mind, you need to first find out about self.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because putting the principles on top of a self that's not well formed won't work. It's like putting a house on a rocky foundation. It won't work. So one of the books that really helped me find out about self or thinking was the Chimp Paradox, because that was able to let me know it was able to articulately, and that's the only book that I've read that's been able to articulately describe certain elements of life that I reacted, not responded, I reacted in a certain way. And the book calls it a chimp. So it says, when you feel like your chimp is about to react, give it a banana. So what does that mean?
Oh, I like that.
So what does that mean? Just take a step back and think, because obviously we're not chimps, but it basically means take a step back and then respond to the situation. Because if you just immediately go and act and move, and you're reacting, you might not get the best optimal response, which is what you've been saying to me as well for many years. It's important to respond to a situation and not react. But I feel like this example of giving your chimp a banana is funny because you laughed at it and you're gonna remember it.
Right.
So when you have a situation that you feel like your chimp is going to react, give your chimp a banana.
Right. And I think that's a great and beautiful example, and people will remember that example. But how many people even know and consider the distinction between reacting and responding? The only way that that book that you read really resonated is because I've been saying to you for years, teaching you and showing you the difference between reacting and responding. The reacting literally is like a tripwire. It bypasses the circuit of the mind. Like, you do no thinking. It's just a knee-jerk response. And who wants that? Whereas responding is ensuring that you process whatever's in front of you through your mind, consider the various options, and then pick the option that is best suited to the outcome that you want to experience.
Yes.
Completely different ways of thinking. One is devoid of thinking completely, and the other is fully integrating the mind.
Yeah. So I feel like that book goes through that process. It takes you through that process very well. So I feel
perhaps some people might want to read that book. So do you have the name?
So it's called the Chimp Paradox. You can get it on Amazon, Audible, anywhere that really sells books. You can get the books. So, and from there, I revisited your book, The GPS System. So after I read that and revisited your book and read the principles again, I was like, oh my goodness, because I had a greater understanding after going through that nursing period of the Chimp Paradox.
Right.
Because you're imparting universal principles, and yes, they're great, and if I apply them, it's fantastic. But I kept forgetting who I am, and a lot of people do that. They want the thing, or they like the idea of the thing, but they forget what they need to do to get there.
Yeah, and the doing comes as a result of the thinking. So actually, the contradiction, it might seem, is that in order to go far externally, you have to go first, far and deep internally.
Yeah.
And that's the bit that most people, they don't see the connection. They think it's just about the external. But if you go chasing the external and you haven't cultivated the internal, I'm sorry, I know it might sound like people are like, oh, this is boring, this is long. I know young people might think like that. But I also know that there's a section of young people who are born spiritually mature. They have just a different level of spirituality and awareness. And so they get what I'm saying. And it's really those people that this message, this whole platform that we're sharing is for those people, because once you get that, and start doing the work on the internal, it affects your, not only your thinking, but your spirit, your willpower, your ability to visualize, to create a vision. And then life just takes on a whole different dimension.
Yeah. And what was really good that you started to do the latter part of the year is that you started to have the MINDreSET 5-day challenge, which is a free 5-day interactive live with you where people can come in. And I feel like, and in all those instances where I was present, everyone started to find out about self before they started to find out about, you know, how can they grow a business, or how can they earn money, or how can they turn their passion into profits, because your passion can often be stifled by who you are, because your passion is a
it's
gift.
not often, hey, listen, it's not often, by universal laws. If you are not ready to be able to handle the responsibilities, your case is a classic example. You were telling me stuff like, I'm ready. I'm like, okay, here's X amount of bags, 5 figures, go make it happen. You couldn't, because you didn't have the capacity. You didn't have the wherewithal. So what happened? You messed up, and the money couldn't flow towards you again. It stopped. But what's happened? Years later, you've done the work on yourself. And then you come back to me and say, look, Uncle T, I'm ready to go again. Can we do some business? And what I say?
Said, yeah.
What I say?
Yeah, you said, yeah.
Right. And the money's in your account. It's that simple. So when I say to young people that money is everywhere, literally, there is no shortage. And our message throughout 2022, for those who are really switched on, it's not even about getting money. It's about getting into the spirit of abundance, where money is everywhere, joy is everywhere, happiness is everywhere. And you literally just have to just tune in and take what you need, or ask for what you need. Like, I know for many people, that will be a step too far. Like, no, this guy's lost his mind. He's lost his mind. He's just talking a lot of air. But you've been with me for how many years?
Going on 9.
So you tell me, does it sound crazy where you're concerned? Or does it sound like the way that you live your life today?
So like the way I live my life today. Yeah.
What I found was really quite interesting. We were having a conversation over the weekend, you and I with some friends, and this friend of ours is doing really well in the corporate world. They have a PhD, is that right?
Yeah.
Very intelligent person. And they were talking about how they run teams, and they operate at a senior level, and they were talking about how they communicate with people sometimes whereby they manage people that they may not even kind of talk to outside of the work environment. And you had a great difficulty with some of the things that were said. But when we broke it down, we realized that the reason why you had the difficulty is because in the world that you live in, you don't engage with anyone that you don't want to.
Yeah.
And for many people, they might be like, what do you mean? But you have now developed your life over the last 8 years, 9 years, to such an extent that you've created your world. And only the people that are vibrating on the same frequency as you get free access into your world. And I thought that was really deep, because it comes back down to the reason why you can say that is because you've done the work over these last 9 years to go inward so that you could extend outwardly.
Yeah.
So now, you literally have a situation where if you have an idea internally that you want to make some money, you have a credit facility. How many young people at the age of 25 can say that?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Having not had to go through the formal line of education where they have to go and, do the university thing and then go and work for some big company and stuff like that. You've done none of that. In fact, you through your thinking system, when you started your degree, because I wanted you to have that, within a couple of years, you were able to show me that you were learning more in this environment than you were at uni. So to be able to be in a place where you've got a credit facility, a credit line where you can literally think, how much money do I want to make? And begin to look at structuring a solid idea, because that's what you've learned now. It's about developing your thinking and checking and ensuring that you have a solid idea before you present it. But you do not have this spirit of lack or I don't know where to go get money without doing something illegal.
Yeah, I remember those years.
You know
many years ago.
Okay, just for the record.
Just for the record, yeah.
You don't have to. And that is what is it? It's a state of thinking. It's a mindset that you now have. Yeah. And so the whole idea of us wanting people to do a mind reset is so that they can, as you were saying, go right back to basics. Reset your mind to prove to yourself, what do you want out of 2022? Like, do you even know what you want? Because I find a bunch of people in fact, majority of people, they don't even really know what they want. They want a nice house because somebody told them that's a nice house to have. Or they want a nice car because they believe if they're in that car, all of their friends are going to think that's a nice car. But they don't want the car for themselves. They want the car because when they're sitting in it and driving it, their friends will say it's a nice car. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So how many people actually know what they want in the 5 key areas of their life? What do you want financially? What do you want in the way of how you exchange your time for money? Like, what do you want to do? I was thinking about it the other day. I'm like, what would majority of people's lives look like? And how different would their lives be from what it currently is if money wasn't part of the equation? Like, if you didn't have to go to work every day to get that paycheck at the end of the month, how many people would get up at the time that they get up each day, make the moves that they do each day, get on the train or whatever it is, and get to the office by 9? How many people would do that? I'm asking the question because that's a question that we need to ask ourselves. Like, you get up crazy hours in the morning. You travel, on occasions, you were traveling 4 hours a day, 2 hours to get to my office and 2 hours home. You didn't have to do that. And you've seen how I live my life. I don't have to do what I do, meaning, so for me, I've asked that question to myself many years ago, and you see in my life, I live my life as if money isn't part of the equation. I'm not doing the things that I do. My life is not designed and structured because I'm trying to get a paycheck. Never has been. It's because I've got a vision and I'm thinking about in what ways can I realize that vision. And that's what we want to do. Of course, I've been doing it for decades and you're coming up close, soon going to be a decade too. So we wanted to create a system that would enable people who are just coming fresh into the game. They're listening to what we're saying. It's like, okay, I don't quite get it, but I kind of feel it. So we've created this Mind Reset course, an online course that enables people to begin to create that sense of clarity in terms of what do you want in the 5 key areas of your life. So I started off by saying, what do you want in your business and your finance and your money? That's the first one. What do you want in your relationships? Like, who would not want to be with their perfect partner. I mean, there is no perfect partner, but you know what I'm saying? It's a rich relationship where you're learning, you're growing together. Who wouldn't want that? You can have trust in that relationship because you know that you're honoring each other. That's the second one. And then the area of your mental state, like you are not and could never be subject to mass formation psychosis because you think every day and you check your thoughts and you ensure that you're thinking consciously, you're consciously aware of those 60,000 thoughts that you have a day, and you're ensuring that a greater percentage of them are positive because you're doing it consciously. That's the third area. And then you're thinking about your spirit and your belief system, which is so crucial because what you believe is what you will experience. And then lastly, your health and your well-being. Consciously thinking about your body, what you do by way of exercise. You know, I was talking to one brother and he was in the gym a couple of weeks ago and he was saying to me that he got so sick because he was just indoors working from home because of COVID. So the thing COVID, it made him sick physically because he was just sat in front of his computer and he wasn't exercising. He wasn't checking his diet. When we begin to look at all of these 5 areas through our mind reset course, then as you've seen with many people, your world kind of just changes. It just opens up on a different level.
Yeah, because you get to experience things that you probably seen, but never you've never lived it. Like you've never lived waking up and smiling and being happy just because you want to be happy.
Yeah.
Like some people have never lived waking up and being like, oh, it's a good day today. Because I remember when I was younger, I'm like, oh, I got to go to school today. Like I don't want to go to school.
Yeah, so imagine.
What kid wants to go to school anyway?
Right. So guess what? They've actually conditioned you. Like by the time you're from 5 to 15, for the most part, you've been conditioned every day to nurture that feeling, that yucky feeling, that horrible feeling, like you don't feel good. So now it becomes a pattern. How about no alarm? Like, listen, when you're in a building and the building's on fire, what do? They say, ring the alarm. That's what happens, right? So who wants to wake up with an alarm? Like the house is on fire, you've got to get up. Yes, that's nature, that's life telling you, this thing, it ain't you. Because in my world, I don't need no alarm clock because I'm rising. And sometimes I'm jumping out of bed because I'm so excited for the day, literally. I'm like, you know, there's been occasion, like a couple of days ago, I woke up at 10 to 3. I'm like, can you just go and I'm like, no, but I'm excited about the day. This is what we want to be able to do. But you have to want it. And this is why I say, do people actually even know what they want?
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny because now that you spoke about the times that you wake up, I was thinking yesterday, I actually woke up at around 1 something a.m. I don't even think you knew. And I was up working with you until 10 p.m. that day. But it didn't feel like I did a long day. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because time in itself is an illusion, but that's a whole another thing that we can go into. But let me just illustrate it by proving the point. And this is a spiritual quality. And I'm saying it, and I know what the result is for anyone that's watching. When you are engaging in something that you really love, think about whatever game it is, like when you're having enjoyment, you're at a concert, like anything that you really love. Have you noticed how time just goes like that?
Yeah.
Because it shows you that time is an illusion. That when you're in the moment, when you're enjoying, time seems to speed up. So if you're enjoying your life every day, you ain't got time to be in bed because it's like you're trying to chase the day.
Yeah.
You're chasing your dreams. You're chasing your enjoyment. And this is what we want to get people to, because clearly we can see that this whole pandemic and this whole fear that is out in the community, in our communities globally, is causing people, from what I can see, to fall into two camps, quite simply. One camp is a camp where people are not doing any thinking and are being herded like sheep. And the other camp where people, as difficult as it may be, because you have to go through all of the fake news and stuff, but they're thinking for themselves and making choices for themselves. And that's really what the blog was about, bringing you to that space, particularly as young people, because even in that conversation that we had a few days ago, you know, there was a young guy in there, and I was talking to his mother, and she said, oh, after our conversation, they went and looked up, you know, what that term means, mass formation psychosis. They went to Google or fact check it, and there wasn't a lot of information on there. So it was almost like, okay, let's dismiss it. But I'm saying even there, that's a concern, because many young people are growing up not even thinking and taking Google as God. That if it's not, you know, when they search on the internet, if it's not there, it ain't real. But you know, right now you can go and type in JLS and Tony DADA, and you won't find the truth in relation to how JLS rose to fame. So what's the point? I'm saying, I'm reinforcing why it is imperative for us to learn the art of cultivating how to think for ourselves. In fact, to make it even better, I would say, don't trust anyone and don't trust anything. Don't even trust me. Don't even trust your parents. Hear what they're saying and improve it for yourself. And I'm not saying, and for the young people, hear me now, I'm not saying go disrespect your parents and say, like what you saying. I ain't saying that. I'm saying that they may be telling you stuff based on their limited awareness.
Or their life experiences.
Or their lack of experience. You know, I saw something on Instagram the other day, and this is really funny, and we can maybe wrap it up on this. And it was a young, you could tell it was a young guy, and he was saying, it's my mom's birthday, and I offered her £5,000 cash or this picture of a chimp, and said that she should choose. And she chose the £5,000. And then he said, I wonder if I should tell her how much this chimp is, because it was an NFT worth $150,000.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So limited knowledge right there. The parent is thinking cash money is where they don't understand about assets. They don't understand about NFTs. So they are saying, go get a job, don't get into this world. But here we go. You know, there was another case where I was listening to a radio show, and I was listening to this radio show, and it was a young guy, and he came on and he was asking the presenter that he's got a dilemma. And the dilemma was that his mum had been telling him, go get a job, right? And he wanted to experiment on drop shipping, and he started, and then he found that he was making money. Like he made a grand a month, and then he started making $2,000 a month, and then he started making $5,000. But all this time he ain't told his mum, right? Because she's not in it. So now he's phoning a radio station and saying, I don't know what to do. I want to tell my mum, but she's going to now think I've been lying to her for the last year, but I'm making $100,000 a month. And I'm having to act like, do you understand what I'm saying? So This is the world that we're living in. So it's all about the awareness. So this is why I'm saying, don't take anything for granted. Prove it for yourself. And you can't go wrong then. Because now you're engaging in life, and that's what this new time is all about. I believe this is what I refer to as a new era of spirituality. And when I say spirituality, I'm not talking about woo-woo stuff. I'm talking about universal principles that you can learn and employ in your life, and they will work because they are based on universal laws. So that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, well, we went deep today, didn't we? I think this might have to be like a double episode, because this was, I told you this was going to be rich. I could feel it.
Now the whole thing's going to go up.
Yeah. Okay, the whole thing.
I feel like it's good. The whole thing should go up.
Okay. So for everyone and anyone that's tuning in, there's a whole world of possibilities out there. You get to choose though. Do you want to live in the world of lack, limitation, poverty? And when I say poverty, I'm not just talking about in your bank account, but more importantly, in your mind. Or do you want to live where abundance lives? And if you want to key into abundance, then you want to key into our Mind Reset for Abundance program, because it will begin to change your thinking. It will begin to reset your mind, and then you can be able to navigate in ways that may literally blow your mind. In fact, I just thought about it. You may even want to pick up this book, which is going to be our book of focus in our next book study club. This is when we go deep and we find out spiritual nuggets in the books of authors who have a wealth of knowledge. And so this book is by John Maxwell, and it's How Successful People Think. So I've given you two things that you can take action on: our Mind Reset for Abundance program and our book study club, where we'll be reading the book How Successful People Think. I think that pretty much sums it up. We've given them a whole heap today, right?
Yep. So let's not forget the Chimp Paradox, and the book you mentioned is also available on Audible as well. So you can get both those books on Audible if you need.
Yeah.
I have them both on Audible.
And then just one more, just for the sake of it. Then of course, my book, The GPS System: 7 Universal Principles for Growing Personal Success. Now, I'm not saying that you should go and get all of them, but what I am saying is do some thinking for yourself and then make a decision. Which one or collection of these do you think that you're ready to digest?
I would strongly suggest getting all the books, but I would suggest making an informed decision after reading all the books.
Okay, all right. Well, you heard it from the man himself. So get all the books. Don't try to read them all at once. When you get them, or the program, then set up your own timetable as to what you want to do. And if you're struggling, then we'll help you out, because I have a team of individuals who I've been working and training with, and they're now my practitioners, and they're all about helping you rise. So if that's you and it resonates, then you get in touch. For now, it's me, Tony DADA, your soul brother, along with my protege, young Natty, saying that was a great breakdown, and we'll see you next time. Till next time, love, love.
Bye.